everyone, this is Maki. The Millennium Battleship from the movie Gundam Seed Freedom is an incredibly powerful ship that had a brilliant performance. Let's analyze it based on the settings published in the Great Mechanics magazine. What kind of battleship is it? We might also get some insight into the relationship between organizations like SAFT and Compass. Please note that this content contains spoilers for the movie. Are you ready? We're about to launch a ram attack on the enemy battleship. You are free to choose which battleship to board. Press the submit button to board the Millennium Battleship. If you want to board the Lean Horse Junior Battleship, press the like button. If you press the bell button, you will board the Rock Helen Battleship. Have you chosen the best battleship for the ramming attack? Designer Mr. Kimi-toshi Yamane made comments in an interview format. He mentioned that the design for the Millennium Battleship was mostly completed in 2006 and it was finalized by adjusting details for the 2024 release. The biggest change was the bow section. Director Mitsuo Fukuda requested a change to the bow. Back in 2006, the Millennium was called the Minerva class. At that time, the bow of the Millennium was very similar to that of the Minerva. We changed the bow design and adjusted the armament. In fact, the ship was classified as the third ship of the Minerva class until shortly before the movie was released in 2024. One day, the production coordinator asked me, is it okay to confirm the classification as the third ship of the Minerva class? When I looked at the finished design of the Millennium, it bore very little resemblance to the Minerva. I felt it would be odd to call the Millennium the Minerva class. So I submitted several classification names, and the name Super Minerva class was officially adopted. Super Minerva class doesn't mean a successor to the Minerva, but rather a battleship that surpasses the Minerva. The Millennium incorporates a lot of soft military technology. We designed it to give the audience the overall impression that it is an attack ship. When I talked to Mr. Fukuda, I felt that he was strongly influenced by Space Battleship Yamato and Space Pirate Captain Harlock. Many interesting points were made. It's fascinating that the name third ship of the Minerva class remained until just before the movie was released. Looking at the movie, there are no scenes where the characters mention the term Super Minerva. It only appears as on-screen text. This seems to reflect the fact that he was struggling with the classification name until the very last moment. The influence of the Space Battleship Yamato and the Space Pirate Captain Harlock is also intriguing. In fact, the Millennium's machine guns resemble those of the Space Battleship Yamato. In Space Battleship Yamato, the scene where a battleship emerges from flames and smoke to counterattack is quite impressive. Such scenes are often used in games as well. Many fans must have been thrilled by the scene in which the Millennium emerges from the smoke while defending itself from enemy fire in the final battle with the Foundation Kingdom. This is exactly where the directing techniques developed in Space Battleship Yamato are used. It's similar to how musicians like Beethoven and Mozart inherited Bach's expressive techniques. In addition, the Arcadier, the battleship in Space Pirate Captain Harlock, is equipped with a ramming weapon for attacking enemy ships. The weapon for ramming enemy ships appears in many modern works. Many of these may have been influenced by the Arcadier. The Millennium can be said to be a battleship that inherits the legacy of the Arcadier. Let's take a look at the comments about the impressive command seat and the launching catapult. The idea of moving the captain's seat outside the battleship was suggested by Mr. Fukuda. Many fans may feel that this was influenced by Captain Haddock. However, even in real battleship combat, it's common for the captain to stand at the open-air anti-aircraft command post at the top of the bridge. In actual wars, captains often move to the command post to oversee evasive maneuvers. The Millennium was designed with the same concept in mind. The launching catapult also has a distinctive design. On battleships such as the Minerva and the Archangel, the catapult opened to allow mobile suits to be launched. The redesign of the Millennium's launch catapult also reflects much of Mr. Fukuda's input. It may even be an homage to the metal armor Dreadnought. The structure that allows the Millennium's command seat to move outside the battleship was very interesting. It was a scene that really brought out the excitement of the final battle. Personally, I found it amusing that the helmsman Arnold Newman moved with it. Among fans, Newman is often referred to as the most skilled helmsman in the Gundam series. Having Newman there gave a sense of security that Maru would return safely. Newman's behavior after the battle was also memorable. Maru Romulus cried when she was reunited with Mulof Flager. What about Newman? He calmly took off his helmet and then did his role as if nothing had happened. It's as if he's doing his usual work according to plan. Think back to the impressive feats of the Millennium. They evaded Requiem, the giant beam cannon that had wiped out the capital of the Eurasian Federation, battling the massive fleet of the Foundation Kingdom as it sought to dominate the world, and fighting the enormous enemy force that included Zaft's rebel army. After such battles, most people would probably be exhausted. Newman's natural return to his usual duties is very reassuring. It's also interesting to note Mr. Yamone's speculation that the Millennium's launching catapult might be an homage to Dreadnought. Metal Armor Dreadnought was a robot anime in which Mr. Fukuda participated as a staff member. It seems to have made a strong impression on Mr. Fukuda, as there were many homages to Dreadnought in scenes such as the destruction of the Destroy Gundam and the presence of the Cavaliers. In fact, the opening scene of Dreadnought shows the hero watching the launch of the Dreadnought Type 1. A similar composition is shown in Seed Freedom, where the mechanical staff sees off Agnes' launch. Finally, let's look at the comments about the Gouten weapon mounted on the Millennium's bow. I was very disturbed by the idea of a weapon that uses the bow to ram into the enemy. There are no battleships in the Gundam series that are designed to ram into enemies. Why would such a tactic be necessary? Without solving this question, a good design couldn't be completed. Why would an advanced battleship have such a primitive method of attack? I consulted Mr. Shigeru Morita, who is in charge of setting and scientific verification. He gave me this answer. It's a weapon designed to be used when conflicts arise within the plant. It was designed to destroy a colony that the radicals had turned into a stronghold for the moderates. After hearing this, I was able to start designing Gouten. Actually, there were different shapes among the ideas compared to the design shown in the movie. I speculated that Mr. Fukuda wanted to use Gouten in a flashy way. So I submitted a design in which the bow extends like a giant beam saber to ram the enemy. When Mr. Fukuda saw that, he said that's too much. In the movie, a structure that only extends a little was adopted. It is surprising that the Millennium would have a weapon designed to destroy colonies. In the movie, the radicals led by Juggernaut actually broke away from Zaft as a rebel force and joined the Foundation Kingdom. Since it was expected that the radicals would eventually crash with the moderates, they may have intended to test Gouten. In doing so, they would focus on the Millennium and Campus. Campus is an organization jointly founded by the Earth Alliance, Front and Ob, which takes a neutral stance. With this in mind, it makes sense to entrust them with Gouten's trial operation. The plausible reason is, if Plan decides to take globally harmful actions, Millennium can use this weapon to deter them, thus allowing them to test Gouten. This is an argument that can be convinced by countries other than Plant. This is the same logic that Gilbert Duano used when he entrusted the Savior Gundam to Afran. If you ever feel that I am on the wrong track, stop me with the Savior Gundam. It is also interesting to note that both Duano and Juggernaut have a commonality in that they both had hidden ambitions in their hearts, and Gouten became the deciding factor in the destruction of the Foundation Kingdom's flagship. It may have been a different result from what Juggernaut intended, but it worked properly as a deterrent to keep the peace. By the way, some fans may have noticed an interesting point in Mr. Yamone's comment. Mr. Yamone mentioned that there are no battleships in the Gundam series that are equipped with ramming weapons. In Bully Gundam, the Lane Host Jr. had a weapon called the Beam Ram, which was used to ram into enemies. However, this weapon wasn't part of the standard equipment. There was a scene where the bow's beam shield was used to break through the bulkhead of a space facility. The mechanics inspired by this feat modified the beam shield generator to create the beam ram. It was a weapon temporarily manufactured by the irregular organization, the Liga Militia. It is not official military equipment. The beam ram was then used in Lin Host Jr.'s final, most impressive act. To protect the future of the young, the soldiers launched a desperate ram attack on the enemy. Lin Host Jr. disappeared into the flames, along with the enemy. The Millennium, on the other hand, successfully destroyed the enemy and sailed on safely. This result may reflect the difference between a weapon made by an irregular organization and one made by an official organization. Because of its incredible combat capabilities, the Millennium is often jokingly referred to by fans as Newman's exclusive mobile armor. It's a battleship that made a memorable impression in the movie, and if possible, I'd love to see more of its impressive actions. Thank you for watching to the end. See you next time.